The $4,000 Chinese Range Rover doesn't just mimic an icon, it dares to challenge perceptions of value. With its striking looks and shocking price, this car is making waves. But is it genuine or just gimmicky? It begins with the exterior, the part of the car designed to turn heads, and at first glance, it succeeds. This $4,000 SUV has captured the essence of a Range Rover's iconic design, the sleek lines, and even the grille. It's a car that, from a distance, could easily be mistaken for a luxury vehicle worth 10 times the price. But the illusion starts to crack as you move closer. It's not just the proportions that feel out of place. The detailing, while passable from a distance, begins to betray its budget roots upon closer inspection. The paint job lacks the deep gloss you'd expect from a luxury vehicle, and the trim pieces often have visible gaps. The badges, which mimic Range Rover's branding, are clearly knockoffs if you know what to look for. It's as though someone designed this vehicle to impress at a glance, but never expected anyone to linger long enough to notice the flaws. The grille, though striking, is sealed shut. It's purely for show with no functional ventilation. The wheels, a modest 17 inches, look comically small compared to the genuine 22-inch rims on a real Range Rover. The proportions feel off, almost like someone shrunk the vehicle in Photoshop but forgot to adjust the wheels. Then there's the build quality. This is where the cost cutting becomes obvious. The body panels are thin and flimsy, and the finishing lacks the polish you'd expect from a high-end car. It's clear that the manufacturers have prioritized appearance over substance, but for $4,000, can you really complain? This car is designed to mimic the aesthetic of luxury without the premium materials or craftsmanship. The question is, does it deliver enough to make the illusion worthwhile? Step inside, and the answer becomes murkier. The interior is an exercise in contradiction. At first glance, it's not bad. The seats are covered in synthetic leather, there's a touchscreen display in the center console, and even some ambient lighting. For a budget car, it's an impressive effort, but touch anything and the illusion quickly fades. The plastics are hard and cheap, the touchscreen is slow to respond, and the stitching on the seats is far from perfect. Even the rearview mirror is held in place with a suction cup, an amusing yet stark reminder of the vehicle's true nature. Interestingly, the manufacturers have included features that feel almost out of place in such a low-cost vehicle. For instance, the panoramic sunroof is a surprise inclusion, even if the mechanism feels far less sturdy than in a real Range Rover. There's also a rudimentary infotainment system that supports Bluetooth and basic media playback. While these additions are a clear attempt to mimic modern tech, they're more of a novelty than practical features. Still, they hint at an ambition to go beyond the bare minimum. Contrast this with the interior of the real Range Rover. Here, everything feels meticulously designed and built to last. The seats are upholstered in genuine leather, the dashboard features real wood accents, and the technology is cutting edge. From the soft closed doors to the heated massage seats, every detail exudes luxury. It's a world away from the knockoff's budget materials and clunky design. But what about performance? This is where the $4,000 Chinese Range Rover takes a dramatic tumble. Under the hood, or rather under the frame, you'll find a modest electric motor producing just 3,500 watts of power. To put that into perspective, that's about the same power as a small household appliance. This gives the car a top speed of just 31 miles per hour and a maximum range of 56 miles on a full charge. It's barely enough for city commutes, let alone long drives or off-road adventures. Driving it is an experience unlike any other, and not in a good way. The lack of power steering makes every turn feel like a workout, and the suspension is practically non-existent. Every bump in the road is felt acutely, making for a jarring ride. And while it technically has brakes and a gear lever, they lack the precision and reliability you'd expect from a real car. It's functional, sure, but it's more toy than transportation. Meanwhile, the real Range Rover is a masterclass in engineering. With powerful engines, advanced air suspension, and an array of off-road features, it's as comfortable on the highway as it is in the wilderness. Driving one feels effortless, almost like gliding on a cushion of air. The Knockoff, by comparison, is a noisy, clunky affair that leaves much to be desired. Charging the $4,000 SUV is another quirky experience. Instead of a proper EV charging port, it uses a standard housing plug. Yes, the same kind you'd use for your toaster. It's a curious decision that highlights the vehicle's budget nature. Charging times are slow, and the battery, while adequate for short trips, lacks the sophistication of modern electric vehicles. The idea of plugging in your car with a household cord is both laughable and strangely convenient. For city dwellers without access to charging stations, this could even be a selling point. But it also raises questions about safety and durability. How well do the batteries hold up over time, and are there risks of overheating or inefficiency? Unfortunately, long-term reviews of this vehicle are scarce, making it hard to assess whether it's practical as a daily commuter or more of a short-lived novelty. But perhaps the most telling moment came during a drag race between the Knockoff and a real Range Rover. Unsurprisingly, the luxury SUV left its cheaper counterpart in the dust. The Knockoff struggled to gain speed and was completely outclassed. Even when reversing, the genuine Range Rover was faster. But it's not all doom and gloom for the Knockoff. For what it is, a low-cost urban electric vehicle, it does have some practical use. Its small size makes it easy to maneuver in tight city streets, and the electric motor means it's relatively quiet. Plus, with growing restrictions on emissions in many urban areas, an electric vehicle at this price could be a way for budget-conscious buyers to comply with new regulations. It might not be glamorous, but for some, it's a functional alternative. The blending of high-end design and budget practicality. While knockoffs like this raise ethical questions, they also underscore the demand for vehicles that combine style with affordability. This brings us to the legal controversies. Jaguar Land Rover famously sued Landwind, the manufacturer of one of the most notorious Range Rover knockoffs, for copying the design of the Range Rover Evoque. The case made headlines around the world and highlighted the challenges of protecting intellectual property in the global market. While Jaguar Land Rover eventually won the case, the knockoff had already sold thousands of units and its impact was undeniable. Do you ever consider buying one of these quirky knockoffs, or do you think they're a step too far? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cars. See you next time, and bye for now.